Howdy, I'm Doug Kruger, and I am the owner, and I kind of control the business classes that are offered here at 40 and Go Tutoring. And so Rob has asked me to answer a few questions about our company and some things like that.
So first question I have for you is, what would be some of your missions or visions that you have in the company?
All right, so 40 and Go, the name says it all. The name is 40 and Go. We're trying to get people A's around here, not C's. The name was actually derived from a saying that we had in the Cadet Corps when I was a student here called 20 and Go, which meant that was, if you will, the logic was you just need to make a 2-0 and go into the Army was one of the theories at the time. So we played off of that name and called it 40 and Go because we are 100% dedicated to trying to get people high grades, is not just passing grades. So I really, every now and then students will say to me, look, I just want to do the minimum to get by, and I ask them to leave. I'm like, then you're not a student of mine. I want my students to be serious about getting good grades. So I work very hard. I stay up very late. I study trends. I'm like a football coach. I look over other things. I look for trends. I look for what the professors think are important. And I am very passionate about what I do. I think my job's important for the students. And so I'm extremely passionate about putting in the work necessary to know that I've done everything necessary to give the students the tools they need to be able to make an A in any given class that they take from me.
And would you say that the mission and vision has played an important role in your life, or was it more just an afterthought?
No, absolutely. It drives me 100% every day, and my family can attest to it. You can ask any of my kids, and they'll be like, well, hey, during the regular semester, what's going on? We're like, we don't know where Dad is. He's constantly gone. I'm constantly at work trying to identify the areas that I can try to do better and better and better. So I'm constantly on a self-improvement plan. And if you ever want to be successful in life, that you kind of constantly got to be self-critical of yourself and go, no, I could have done better at that, and work the feedback loop to try to get better at your craft. And so I'm definitely driven by that, and everyone that knows me personally knows that about me.
So what would you say is some of the biggest obstacles for 40 and Go? And this can kind of entail the general environment. It could be within the industry, or it can just be the actions of your competitors.
So there's a couple things. One that I want to talk about is advertising has become quite a bit more difficult. When we first got tutoring, I started tutoring at 40 and Go in 1994, so it was a long time ago. And at the time, it was before cell phones and the internet and things like that. So everybody got their news from papers. So the school newspaper, the battalion, all we had to do was run an ad in the battalion, and that everybody saw it, and it was a select targeted audience, and then they all came. And then as time progressed and the cell phone became kind of prominent and the internet became kind of prominent, people stopped looking at the newspaper, which made it increasingly more difficult for us to be able to find good avenues for advertising. So that was one big thing that's happened to us over the years. And then over the years, we've had competitors that have come in with varying different degrees of how dedicated they are to helping the students. And so some of my competitors that are out there, I can look at them and I can tell and I can say, now that guy really cares about the industry. And so I don't mind competition like that personally, because it's better for everybody. It all pushes us to do better ultimately for the students. What I don't like is when there are some people that have entered the market and are trying to teach students like magic wand things, and if you will, and little shortcut tricks. And usually those will get students by with maybe a D or a C. And I guess there are some students that are okay with that, but that's not what our goal is around here. So I don't like that. It's if you will, let me use as an analogy attorneys. So I've got some friends that are attorneys, and everybody wants to make jokes and bash attorneys, but there's some really good attorneys out there. But because there are some bad attorneys out there, everybody kind of throws them all into the same loop. And so that's what I don't like. When bad tutors get into the industry, it puts a black eye on all of us, and so I don't like that. You can't control it, but it is a frustrating part of what's going on in the industry these days. So.
Next question I have is, what would you say is some of your business level strategies? And this can kind of be where some examples would be like a cost leadership strategy where you're kind of more focused on undercutting your competitors with costs, or you could be more focused on differentiating yourself from your competitors. And then also too, you can kind of focus on that, and in a switch, a focus strategy is more of an integrated set of actions where you want to produce goods or services that serve the needs of like a particular competitive segment.
Right.
Where you kind of just hone in on something. So what would you say?
Well, you gave me this diagram to look at, and I'm going to repeat that I think that I fall into the category of this focus differentiation, because over the years we've really not been that concerned with cutting costs as we have been with the quality of our product. And so that just drives us 100% here. We're like, I've even made the comment before that, look, if this is what it takes for me to do my job right, and if it gets to a point where the students just can't afford that anymore, then it's time for me to leave the industry. It's time for me to retire. I'm not going to compromise on the quality that I offer. And so that, I think, falls best into this focus differentiation. We're definitely not concerned with trying to be a cost leader or anything like that. So, if you will, anytime anyone comes to me and says, this is going to sound a tad bit arrogant, but if anybody comes to me and says, "Man, you guys are expensive," and I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm worth it." If you're looking for bargain discount pricing, then I'm not your guy.
Right.
I want a serious student that is willing to invest the time and effort to be here, and the money. And really the money, it's expensive to put our product on. So a good portion of why it's so expensive is facilities cost. It costs a lot of money to rent the place, and air conditioning costs are quite high. And so I don't necessarily, we don't concern ourselves as much with trying to control those costs as we do with trying to really hone down. And if you will, there are times other people say, "Hey, look, there's this tutor that does that, and there's that tutor that does this," and I'm a pretty fairly honest guy. So there are times where I'll say, "Hey, man, really, probably between me and this guy, it's probably six or half dozen the other." But then there'll be others where I'll be like, "Look, you can go to him and get your C if you want, or you can come here and I'll try to get you an A or a B." And so that's, if you will, that's a perfect definition of what differentiation is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What would you say, just kind of going a little further on that question, what would you say would make you more of a focused differentiation rather than just being a differentiation?
Because I focus it by class. So I don't just come up here and say, "Well, let me teach finance the way I want to teach it, or let me teach accounting the way I want to teach it." I tailor it to the way the professors are requiring it. So everything I do is reactionary and focused, laser focused on what that professor thinks is important. So that is a frustrating part of my job, but it is invaluable to the students. So I don't just sit here and go, "Look, I got this skill set and I'm not changing it." So I'm like, nope. Sometimes, even though I know accounting inside and out, if a professor now says, "Well, I like to teach it this way," then I have to change my style. That's just the way it is. And so to me, that is what being focused means. It's the reason why I feel like it's focused differentiated.
So a follow-up question would be, how intense would you say your competition is with other businesses, and how does the company respond to the competition?
Okay, so there are some classes that have a lot of competition, and there's some that don't. So if you look at it by individual class, and so the ones where we have a lot of competition, I'm not a guy that likes to talk about other people that are doing it or things like that. Every now and then I get forced into a corner, and people will ask me like we're talking about, and I'll be like, "Well, I wouldn't suggest you do that," or "No, that's okay." And things like this. So there are some where we have a tremendous amount of competition, and then I just, if you will, the way I look at it is that, look, I'm going to put my product out there. Certainly the customer is going to check other people out, and I believe that the customer is gonna find out that my product is the best, and that they're gonna come here. Now, that's not necessarily for everybody, I understand, because there are some people that are trying to get into professional schools and grades are very important to them. And there are some people that are in college at A&M, believe it or not, that are like, nah, I don't really care whether I make an A. I have had students come to me that came to me for the first exam and then made an A, and then I didn't see him again. And I'm like, why? You know, when I saw him, why did you not come back to me? They're like, man, that was a lot of work. You know, that was a lot of time, and it was a lot of work. And I know I got an A, and I'm happy, but I don't need an A in that class. And so,
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tailor my work product around trying to customize to that. So that's the where I kind of feel. And in some situations, I'm winning that battle, and in some, I'm losing that battle with the competition. But I just try to put the most high quality product that I can put together, and I'm sure the other people do the same thing. And then I'm sort of like, all right, we'll let the customers decide who is. That's the way I look at it. And then there's other classes. So what I try to do every now and then is actually, I think you just made the next question you're going to ask me. So let me hold off on my comments there.
So next question I have is, do you have any hopes to diversify into more businesses or potentially move into other markets?
All right, so I've been doing this since 1994, so let me kind of take it from that perspective. What we had thought originally when we got in there was that we would come in here and we would set a footprint here at A&M, because that's where all of us main ones had gone to school, and we knew this university well. And then at the 3 to 5 year mark, we thought we would start putting this in at some of the other major universities. The problem was that each of us individual tutors were the main value, if you will. So if I wound up leaving to go to another university, then I had to make sure I could replace somebody here that had the same passion and qualities and things of that nature. So we just found that the quality control wasn't going to allow for it, for us to diversify in other markets. Now, what we did do is we only had a certain number of classes that we taught at the beginning, and so how we diversified our business was, hey, look, I bet you people need help with that class, so why don't we find out if we can find some tutors for that? Or like economics as an example. I had, I think, 5 economic classes in undergraduate, and then I got an MBA in which I took some more, and I'm like, man, I was really good in economics. I can probably tutor that class. So, and nobody was tutoring it. So that's how we wound up diversifying here, was that we started off with a core of maybe like 5 or 6 classes, and now we teach, I can't tell you how many classes. So we're really, in terms of where we are as a company, we're probably pretty well through the growth phase of all of that, and now we're in the maintain phase.
Right.
Because there's probably not that many classes that are out there that we can find, but every now and then one will pop up where one student will say, hey, I think we need help with this class, and